Good morning, afternoon, and evening, everybody. I'm Danielle McLean, Executive Director and founder of High Sky Society. I'm so excited to introduce this month's distinguished speaker. But first, I want to tell you a little bit about High Sky. We exist because 10% of transportation emissions are from aviation, and that number is expected to triple by 2050. We believe that hydrogen is the only solution to decarbonize aviation. There are three big challenges with implementing hydrogen for aviation. I call them the big three: infrastructure, cost, and regulatory. We work with aircraft manufacturers, fuel cell developers, hydrogen producers, and everyone in between to help lower the cost and availability of hydrogen. And of course, we work with government, industry, and other organizations to help develop a safe path forward to regulate this nascent space. High Sky Society holds free monthly webinars on the third Monday of every month. That's what you're at right now. This is High Sky Monthly. Distinguished speakers include folks from Plug Power, Universal Hydrogen, High Point, Highmark, Plasma Kinetics, Luftcar, and so many more. I can't even put into words how much I've learned from these webinars. So thanks again for all of our distinguished speakers. Past webinars are available on our website, highsky.org/shop. And I really look forward to seeing what we're going to learn in 2023 throughout these invaluable webinars. And finally, And then that awkward stop was because we have some announcements. So, big announcement for today is that Flying High has been moved to an in-person event October 10th through 11th in Grand Forks, North Dakota. Flying High will be co-located with the UAS Summit and Expo. We are so excited about this partnership with BBI. Some of the folks in attendance, this is from 2022, are the North Dakota senators. This is Stratolaunch's unveiling that they did last year, and Colonel Nathan Diller. So I think that you all will really, really enjoy the crowd. Your tickets will include access to both the UAS Summit and Expo and Flying High. And we're also launching the first hydrogen aviation course and workshop on October 9th. So it's actually a 3-day event. Monday, October 9th is the course from 1 to 5 p.m. Then Tuesday, October 10th, are presentations all day, plus a networking event and cocktails. And then Wednesday, October 11th, are another full day of amazing presentations and some surprise guest speakers. The course on the 9th will be taught by Matt Moran, who's a NASA veteran who's worked with liquid hydrogen for decades, and myself. Sponsorships are available. So far, we have SoCal Gas, Luftcar, and the Vertical Flight Society. So thank you so much to our current sponsors, and definitely check out our website if you're interested in becoming a sponsor. We will be posting registration details very soon, hopefully this week. But for now, just go ahead and save the date. And let me see if I can copy this link. We'll just go to it, and I'll put the link in the chat for the saving the date. There we go. Rachel might have already posted it, but I didn't look. Okay, cool. So yeah, make sure and save the date. And so, yeah, welcome everybody to High Sky Monthly. I'm so excited to introduce this month's distinguished speaker, Mr. Tom Freund. Mr. Freund represents over 35 years focused on advanced software technology and control, monitoring, and diagnostics of industrial and infrastructure equipment. He is currently involved in proactive onboard equipment oversight and contingency handling for air, sea, and land autonomous mobility, as well as public infrastructure. His firm, Digysol, holds a U.S. patent in intelligent onboard equipment oversight. So now, without further ado, please welcome Mr. Tom Freund. Tom, it's all yours. You can go ahead and share your screen and turn your mic and camera on.
Okay, just give me a minute. I'll share my screen. Can everybody hear me, by the way?
Yep.
Hello?
Loud and clear.
Loud and clear? Okay, fine. Can everybody see what I'm seeing?
Yep.
Okay. Well, thank you very much for this opportunity, and good morning, good afternoon, good evening, wherever you might be. Let me start speaking by talking about what I think is a very positive trend going on with hydrogen propulsion, and we all are very aware of it. And just to throw an example out there from one company, we all saw in the beginning of, in the middle of January rather, how Zero Avia put out its first flight for its first prototype for a hydrogen electric regional aircraft, testing out their engine, Zero Avia ZA600. And we've become very, very thrilled with the fact that that is really taking off. But lo and behold, short 3.5 months later, guess what happened? Things got a little bit better. Zero Avia was essentially the owner of a retired Q400 regional turboprop, courtesy of Alaska Airlines, and they were asked to turn it into a fuel cell driven aircraft. This is a 76-seat regional aircraft, as you can see from the display over there, and they're aiming to fly it by 2024. Quite essentially a very thrilling thing to see. We see it in 2024. What's key here is the fact that this is not an air taxi with 2 people or 5 people. This is a 76-seat regional aircraft. What's unique about it is not just the number of seats of passengers, but also the fact that regional aircraft. Regional aircraft typically fly for a distance of at most 900 miles, and usually are in regional aircraft becoming a very dominant feature of the air aviation market. So this is really a thrill to have such a capability available. And of course, Zero Avia is not the only company involved in this thing. You have also companies like Universal Hydrogen as well involved in this particular field. But one thing we have to keep in mind is that what Zero Avia is doing is just a part of what we're calling advanced air mobility, the new generation of aviation that is coming to the fore right now, with a range going from drones all the way down to, as you can see, regional aircraft. And if fuel cells are becoming a promising part of this particular picture. But as these aircraft are entering the airspace, and more of them will be around, there'll be a requirement to make them a lot more reliable than they are right now. The current standard is 10 to the minus 9th chance probably of having an accident or a failure happening in most aircraft. But I think that number is going to go even further down. And what we have to think about, for example, right now, is what exactly can we do to make this capability even more reliable than it is today, because it is going to come to the fore. And let's look, for example, at a particular candidate that we may have to look in the area of fuel cell propulsion. That's the engine itself. And we start with the fuel cell stack, as you can see from this picture. It shows a typical 6-cell fuel cell stack. And you might say, well, if you don't know too much more about a particular fuel cell stack, you might say, well, this is the whole picture, right? Wrong. By the way, this picture and the one I'm going to show you next comes from a very interesting article published by the German aerospace agency, Deutsche Luft- und Raum, that was put out, an article was put out in December 2022. And it is a bigger picture, because not only you have the stack, but you have a lot of systems right around the stack. Stacks generate heat, so you need essentially a cooling system, as you can see from the bottom. And basically, what is supposed to be a pump, it'll possibly be a heat exchanger associated with it. There'll also be a system to distribute the electricity generated by the fuel cell stack. as you can see from the top. There'll be converters from AC to DC, from DC to AC, and so on. There'll be essentially capabilities to introduce hydrogen into the stack, as you can see from the anode system on the left, and also to handle the exhaust coming out of the fuel cell stack, the water steam, water vapor, or water coming out, and how do we essentially deal with that as well. And the issue basically here is that we need to find a way to more effectively monitor what goes on over here, because we better stop thinking in terms of let's wait till it fails, to catching things before they really happen. And to bring that, to essentially emphasize that particular point, let me show you a result of a survey that was done by Aviation Week and Space Technology back in 2021, where they ask essentially which digital technology will you feel is going to be heavily used or adopted in the next 5 years. Was it going to be big data analytics? Not so much. It's sort of like so-so. Is it going to be augmented or virtual reality? Well, that's nice, but it's not quite that interesting. But what came to the fore? Electric documentation. We want to have a little iPad carrying around telling us everything we want to know about a particular aircraft, rather than tons and tons of manuals. And another one that came out is predictive repair capabilities. And this is an area that has drawn some attention within the general aviation, within the aviation industry commercially. As you can see from those data points in the bottom left-hand side, EasyJet put together a pilot study for a predictive capability and found that they were able to avoid 35 technical cancellations in 1 month. Delta Airlines did the same, and they were able to essentially avoid 2,000 potential operational interruptions on its very first year of use. Not bad for starters. But essentially, these are semi-automated capabilities. These are capabilities that require quite a bit of hand-holding in order to make them effective. How can we use the power of automation to make them even better than they are right now? And this is where what we offer comes to the fore. We at Digysol are putting together a software system, a network software system called a DCH framework. The concept here essentially is that we gear each of the components in that network, each of these software components or agents, to an individual LRU. So one agent will be very knowledgeable about what goes on inside a particular LRU, a line replaceable unit. And by that, we mean essentially a component that can be replaced by a line technician if one is about to fail or needs to be replaced. The guiding principles in the ADCH framework is to always think preemptively. And that's why we, as shown at the bottom of it here, are forsaking the idea of to wait till a fault really occurs and then do something about it. That is almost seems to be the norm in some cases today, to want of thinking anomaly. What do I mean by an anomaly? An anomaly basically is a deviation from a century might be considered normal behavior. So if that's if you start seeing things going on in the equipment, which triggers in your mind an moment, that is to say, we are thinking that something may be possibly funny going on over here, and really doing something about it at that point in time. As you can see from the top of it there, our system essentially focuses on identifying anomalies specific to in a particular LRU and making sure that what we read is indeed accurate. And once we identify those anomalies, select an appropriate contingency process to enable some sort of recovery. And we ask ourselves, before we adopt that contingency process, is it something that, given the current state of our platform, is it doable? Can we really do it right now? And then once we identify those contingency actions, perform them. So that's really the whole concept between ADCH framework and what we call a little bit of a nutshell. So there's a lot more detail that go into it right now, but I think for now, let me cover at this particular level. But first, let's talk a little more about what we mean by an anomaly. Excuse me. We can think of an anomaly in these two cases. This, by the way, comes from not aviation, but it comes from pumps. If you look at essentially the one particular way of understanding a pump is that there is a flow going on, and sometimes you want to monitor the temperature of the fluid being pumped. So as you can see from case one, we're talking about a temperature, the temperature of this fluid sort of gradually rising. But at that gradual rise, it may get to a point where it actually, as you can see from the bottom, on the bottom of the air, it may cause essentially anomalies to go on with the fluid, which are not really something you want to look forward to. So the minute we start seeing those changes, those gradual rises in the gradient of the temperature, the rate of change of the temperature, I think it's time to do something about it. The same for case two in the bottom. We have a different situation here. We're talking about the flow of the fluid to the pump. We're seeing a steady flow on the left-hand side. But in the middle, what we're seeing essentially is that flow sort of temporarily dipping for a little while, then going back to normal. So these little instances, essentially, if we don't do anything about them, eventually lead to what you see in the bottom right-hand side, the flow going really down and essentially stopping altogether. So it is important to look at those little anomalies and sort of take care of them before they grow into something even worse. So having that in mind, let's go show a couple of very simple examples as to how a DCH framework within a particular agent will go in there. But before we do that, let's understand how we get the data to identify those anomalies. Let's go back essentially to the picture I showed before about the system around the stack. We essentially identify points at which can put sensors. And by the way, what you see over here is not the only way you may lay out sensors to acquire the data to identify the anomalies, but it's just an instant. And we see, for example, a temperature sensor identified with the fuel cell stack. We see voltage sensors associated with the electrical system. We also see pressure and temperature sensors associated both with the cooling and the hydrogen input, as well as the steam and water removal system on the right-hand side. So that's the one possibility. We're going to show you the simple example, which look only at two of those sensors, namely the temperature sensors of the stack, of the fuel cell stack, and the voltage, AC voltage coming out of the electrical system. So if we want to understand how essentially anomalies are going to be used in those particular situations. So let's look at an anomaly that could be case one. Let's look at the agent associated with, say, what goes on the stack that is focusing on the temperature. And what we're looking is that we're looking at identifying a point at which you consider temperature increasing just a little bit too much. In other words, it's not actually reading to a fault where the stack will be overheated, but rather the heat over here is growing at a bit higher rate than normal, and it's bringing our temperatures just a little bit higher than they ought to be. So one of the recommendations, this is not the only one, would be to essentially recommend to the flight management system. And by the way, I'm thinking of a platform, an aircraft, where essentially a lot of the functions are autonomous. That is to say, we have a human on the loop as opposed to human in the loop, who sort of looks over what the system does, but yet the system kind of operates a little bit on its own with some occasional human intervention. So one of the recommendations would be essentially for the file management system to possibly reduce throttle a certain percentage just to eliminate some of the stress that goes on with the system, while we try to do something else to maybe bring this aircraft down and so we can do something about it before things get worse. That is what an example we called before case one, where we saw a gradient increase in a particular parameter. Before you bring an example of what we call case two, let me show you what we mean by essentially looking at case two type anomalies. If you look at the graph on the top left-hand side of voltage over time, you see what it looks like pretty much a mess. I mean, values going back and forth, up and down, and you are barely able to discern something clear from any kind of trends in there. We convert that to what amounts to a spectrum graph, where we essentially look at how often certain values of, say, voltage occur over a central period of time. So we notice only two values seem to dominate that particular graph that we see on the top left. And this is what we call an spectrum. Which values dominate the graph that we're seeing on the upper right-hand side over a certain period of time. And this is what we're going to pay attention to. We look at an example of case 2. So if we look at voltage coming out of there of the electrical system associated with the fuel cell stack that's generating that voltage, and we see too much variation, that is to say, we don't see two peaks. We see all of a sudden two, three, maybe 4 peaks coming out over there. You get the sense that voltage is becoming rather unstable. So something is not going quite right over there. And another recommendation that we can do to give to the file management system to deal with that, again, is to reduce the throttle by just a different level of percentage. But suppose that both of these things happen at the same time. We see kind of an anomaly in terms of temperature variation, which doesn't look right. And that gives us one recommendation. And we see another one coming out of the electrical system that shows that we have too much variability in the voltage being generated, and therefore we want to reduce it by a certain amount. Well, we have 2 recommendations. Which one ought to dominate? We're going to be building in essentially capability within the ADCH framework to merge these. They have the ability to merge 2 recommendations coming from 2 different agents and provide what amounts to a more general recommendation, a single general recommendation, or fewer recommendations going to the flight management system. In this example, we're saying, for example, say we're going to take the largest of these 2 throttle reductions and send it to the flight management systems. Please recommend, essentially, we recommend to the flight management system that only a particular certain value of throttle reduction be applied. And again, we say recommendation because ultimately, even in the autonomous system, we want to give ultimate authority to the flight management system whether or not to follow this particular recommendation. So in effect, basically, our ADCH framework becomes a very intelligent advisor that can supplement or help essentially a flight management system within an autonomous or semi-autonomous system, the capability to manage what goes on inside the different LRUs, line replaceable units in the aircraft. But how are we going to implement this particular system? Well, as I said before, this is the network of software agents. And each of these software agents will sit inside a tiny box, as you can see size over there. I don't know if you can see a picture of myself. I'm holding my fingers, essentially what the dimensions of that particular stack is going to be. And as you can see, it doesn't take much time to hold me. And yes, you can put quite a bit of computing capability in that little box. Believe me, that can be done with computer technology of right now. In a network, these boxes will be connected into a network. So yes, each of these boxes, each of these agents can communicate with each other, and then eventually communicate with the file management system, the flight management system, to essentially provide an appropriate advice on how to deal with these, with any anomalies may crop up. As we grow the capabilities associated with advanced air mobility, that flight management system can send those recommendations both to the air traffic management unit, which will recommend, say, an alternative site for landing in order to deal with that particular anomaly, if that's required, and the regular, essentially, or the scheduled location which the aircraft will land will not be able to handle what has cropped up, and also provide via a separate network to the operator's ground support unit what needs to be replaced in order to essentially deal with that particular situation. So that is basically what what ADCH framework is all about. And I think that also illustrates what things we have to think about if we are to create a system that monitors the aircraft in a way that will give total, complete confidence to the public and to regulators that essentially we can indeed put systems of this nature out there in the public domain and in a safe and reliable manner. So with that, I'm going to turn the agenda to anyone in case you have any thoughts or questions. And you have my email address if you want to discuss this further. By the way, the link in the bottom over there is to the article I mentioned before from the German Aerospace Agency dealing with maintenance issues associated with implementing fuel cell stack-based motors in aircraft. So thank you very much. That's my presentation, and look forward to answering any of your questions. Thank you very much.
Thank you so much, Tom. There's a couple of questions in the chat that I will read. And if anybody has any questions, you can raise your hand and ask them yourself or put them in the chat and I can read them for you. I recommend you asking them though, because sometimes I mess up the questions. Okay, so I do that often. Okay, so Rishav asks, what sensors are needed for the integration of ADCH framework with the H2 stack?
There is no specific required sensor. So we can take any sensors that could essentially interface with the agent, and the agent will be implemented in a way that will provide IO interface for any serial IO. Let me get a little technical over here. It could be an I2C interface, SPI interface, UART interface that I think I'm primarily interfacing with, because many of the sensors out there can easily use these serial interfaces. So that is primarily the ones I'm focusing on right now. Does not mean that in the future, the other interface of use, say USB becomes a way of interfacing sensors, that could be accommodated as well.
Gotcha. Joseph Sullivan has a question. Joseph, do you want to unmute and ask your question?
Sure. So it was more of a statement. The Army and the Navy have already developed health monitoring systems for a lot of the aircraft that I've worked with in the past. Are you, Digysol, looking to do that for commercial aircraft, or are you looking to use your algorithms to get, we'll say, military work?
I'm essentially focusing the ADCH framework for commercial platforms. So by the way, but not only in aircraft, but also ground vehicles as well as sea vehicles, and primarily fully autonomous systems. That's what I'm focusing on the work on right now.
Thank you.
And I just had a question on those. What causes those, assuming that was real data, what causes those fluctuations in voltage with the fuel cell?
It could be basically that we're having an instability in the fuel cell itself, that we're not getting enough voltage. It could be that possibly one of the cells in the stack is going. There could be many reasons why that might be the situation in the fuel cell. Okay.
Gotcha. Ovi, I see you have a question. Would you like to unmute and ask it?
Sure. Have you started testing this system in a hydrogen drone or any other drone for that matter?
Okay, now at this point in time, what I'm basically essentially looking into is implementing this system in the context of a hydrogen drone. And I'm definitely looking for partners in that particular area, by the way. We're in the process of putting together the prototype for this system at this point in time. And yes, we're looking for partnerships that could get us into testing in more detail the capabilities of this particular system, and basically get us in a position to be essentially what is to do. We're working on a prototype as a beta product, and we want to essentially look for partners to become involved in beta testing.
I would highly recommend you come to Flying High. As I mentioned, it will be co-located with the UAS Summit and Expo. And interestingly enough, in previous years, they haven't had any hydrogen drones, but they're very interested in hydrogen. And so we happen to be all the hydrogen aviation folks. So I think you'd have a really high chance of finding a partner or partners at that event as well at these events, these monthly events. So
I'm surely looking forward to that.
cool. Yeah, we need to get you on a speaker slot. So don't let me forget to follow up with you
Okay, no problem.
after this about that.
No problem.
Alan Morrison has a question/statement. Go ahead and unmute, Alan.
Yes, good morning. Can you hear me?
Yes.
Yep.
Can you guys hear me? Yeah, I
Yes.
apologize for checking in a little bit late. Time zone kind of caught me up there a little bit. For everyone who doesn't know me, my name's Alan Morrison. I'm working through ASTM in trying to establish a fuel quality specification for hydrogen when used as an aviation fuel. And I find this presentation very interesting about some of the issues and the control systems. And I'd just like everybody to know that we are through ASTM and in conjunction with the jet fuel folks at ASTM developing the actual specification that will be used for the fuels, and some of the inputs, some of the problems you have related to fuel quality. If anybody has any ideas, would like to join, Daniela has my contact information. And I would like to continue working, and then in the monitoring systems that you have, you know, what are their needs, what needs you do for fuel quality and the like. So
Okay.
that's okay.
Okay, thank you very much.
Yeah, Alan, I will put your email in the chat, and I'm pulling up the link. Here we go. Somebody asked for the link to the article. I'm just getting that. And yeah, Alan, you could actually just post your email. Oops, I accidentally sent Alan, you could post your email in the chat if you'd like.
Okay. Thank you.
Yeah, you bet. And I think Alan, also, you mentioned, you might have just now said this. If you did, I didn't catch it. That don't you have an upcoming meeting in Denver?
Yes, I apologize. I didn't get a chance. I was at a meeting all week last week, and I've been tied up with family issues over the weekend to send you. But ASTM is having their meeting for the DO2, which is liquid fuels, and the DO3 committees, which is gaseous fuels. We're meeting in Denver the last week of June for our annual meeting. The DO3 committee is where the work is being done. There, I'm going to send to you, Danielle. I haven't yet some of the information about that when we get our agenda set up. We also, for those even aircraft, the ASTM DO2 sub J is the committee in which jet fuel is specification is. Currently, I just found out Friday that my FAA contact is retiring at the end of the month, so it's a little bit in a little bit of you know, who's going to be the next FAA contact. But we are trying to bring in the engine manufacturers, the aircraft manufacturers, and the like. And I can use as much as assistant. I mean, I came from the state regulatory world, and just recently, so this is kind of an exciting venture for me. And we hope, you know, we hope to have something, at least a rudimentary fuel quality specification for gas turbine fuels for hydrogen, and also for fuel cell hydrogen, along with a liquid hydrogen fuel spec. So, okay.
Cool. Thank you for that, Alan. I just want to quickly share my screen and tell you all once again, can you see High Sky's website? Okay, so if you go to up here to log in, then it's free to log in, and it doesn't cost you anything to create an account. And then you hit this drop down and go to Hi Chat. You can access our Discord server, which is very, very brand new. We just announced it for the first time last month, but this is a great place. Once, you know, people are using it, we're a small team, so we're just now launching this, but once we're using it, this is such a great place to share information, events, articles, links, and the like, to you know, just really kind of communicate with each other. It's free, it's easy, so just log in, hit the drop down and go to high chat. And then if you have a paid membership, you can hit all access and you can access all of the past webinars. And you see we have universal hydrogen, we've have zero avia in here. So, and these are, some of these videos are back from like 2020, way before they did their public flight. So it was kind of fun to sort of learn about what they were up to before the rest of the world sort of knew. So I encourage you to go on there and just introduce yourself. All you have to do is just say, you know, hi, it's Danielle, and then whoever's in that server can see it. And then Alan's posted his information in there as well. Did we have any other questions for today? Ovi says you may want to reach out to Honeywell if you have not done so already with your system for some beta testing. They have made great progress in hydrogen fuel cells for several years in aviation. Yeah, in fact, usually some of the Honeywell hydrogen folks come to this event. I'm not sure if they're here today because I haven't looked at the attendees. But if they are, please speak up. But if they're not, I can introduce you if you don't already have an introduction or already have a contact, Tom.
Hello? Yeah.
Okay, cool.
I posted my email address in the chat, so anybody wants to get in touch with me, they're more than welcome.
Okay, great. Greg, you're up. Go ahead and unmute yourself. Oh, he's asking a question to me. Just kidding. I can read this one. Is a paid membership the only way to get access to the previous webinar recordings? At this time, yes. So, you know, we're a nonprofit. We rely on your donations, and we want to keep doing these monthly webinars for free. And so the way that we pay for that is by charging for the past webinars. If you're a member of the Vertical Flight Society, you can access them on their site as well. Their membership is more expensive than ours because you get other things other than hydrogen. But, you know, at this time, that's why I always say, you know, please consider making a donation to High Sky. It's tax deductible. It really allows us to continue doing this stuff for free. And if we had enough donations, we could give the webinars away for free. So, you know, maybe we'll look at a campaign to do some fundraising like that. But yeah, if I had my way, we would have enough donations to give them away for free. But at the end of the day, we gotta keep the lights on, right? So Greg also says, Tom, could you repeat what you're looking for someone to team with? Probably what you're looking for in a potential partner, maybe.
Yeah, I didn't give details about that, but I'm looking essentially for an OEM or a manufacturer or maker of avionics components that would be interested in incorporating a more extensive predictive maintenance capability into their product. So that's what I'm looking at this point in time. It could be basically anybody, not only in the air domain, it could be in the sea domain. By the way, hydrogen is also being looked at in sea transportation as well, autonomous sea transportation. So anybody in that area I'll be more than welcome to speak about this.
Great, thank you. Let's see, there's another thing. Is there a specific fuel cell that your system is targeting? Alkaline, PEM, etc. That's
at this point in time, no. There is no specific one being alkaline. I'm basically being targeted at this point in time. I'm basically looking at generically the capabilities of that as applied to a fuel cell, but whether I will apply to a specific type of, a specific chemistry or makeup in terms of the fuel cell, in terms of the cell makeup, you know, it depends on the market, depends on what happened, which is the most popular type of fuel cell being capable right now. So that's something that I'm exploring at this point in time.
Great, thank you. And while we wait on the next question, since you all are here, you're gonna get a sneak peek at our brochure that we're getting ready to publish on Flying High, which will let you know some of the sessions. So yay, you get the early sneak peek. So like I said, Flying High is October 10th through 11th, 2023 in Grand Forks, North Dakota, co-located with UAS Summit and Expo. I'm not going to read this to you, but you'll be able to download it soon. We bring together all the pieces of the ecosystem to make hydrogen aviation possible. So that's including the aircraft developer, the hydrogen producers, the hydrogen transporters, the refueling stations, onboard storage, and the fuel cell itself, or the engine, depending on what type of configuration you have. And the reason we have the aircraft there in the middle is because we believe all of these systems this ecosystem needs to be developed around the aircraft and its mission. And if there's one thing that I would like to accomplish with Flying High, it would be to invite people from outside of aviation that know a thing or two about hydrogen to join us and teach us and let us learn from you, because often, we're kind of late to the party in terms of hydrogen. And there are other industries like forklift industries and energy industries that have been working in these spaces for much longer. And so we invite you, please don't think, oh, it's an aviation event, that's not for me. That is 100% the opposite of what I want to accomplish in this event. We want to see us all come together, form these kinds of partnerships like Tom's talking about, and decarbonize aviation safely and profitably, ideally. Some of the sessions that we'll have will be advanced air mobility, regional air mobility, and the future of the skies, hydrogen drones, making H2 fly without you, commercial aviation takes off, the race to hydrogen powered flight, engines versus fuel cells, where's the H2, hydrogen production and logistics, the AI aviators, how artificial intelligence is shaping the future of hydrogen aviation. Oh, which reminded me, Tom, when you were showing that survey, I was actually surprised by that, but I once you explained it, it makes a lot of sense. But I would have thought that AI would have been higher than the digital. But I think in a way, is yours sort of AI, what your technology is doing?
Let me kind of answer that. They survey people in the MRO industry, in the maintenance, repair, and overhaul. So these are the technologies that seem to, if you look at what has been talked about in the MRO area, essentially those are the things that tend to dominate. What are the best ways to predict things before they break down? What is the easiest way for getting information about anything, any part of the aircraft? Excuse me. And I think the thing is that AI has been sort of the hidden technology behind the scenes that does makes that all that capability come true. I would say that what I do touches on AI because I've been working with AI since quite a long time ago. Let me put it this way. And there is some AI type capabilities inside of what I'm doing right now. So not unusual, but people wouldn't openly talk about it and say it's AI. I don't. I focus on what is the end result? What does it do? How does it make things better?
Got it. Thank you for that clarification. I missed the MRO part. So another session that we'll have lessons from space. Like I mentioned at the beginning of the webinar, space, a lot of times people think that flying with hydrogen is dangerous. We often think of the Hindenburg, but we forget that space shuttles have used liquid hydrogen for decades. And we're going to have some of those very people at Flying High to talk about how it can be done. The logistics, the infrastructure already exists. So this is not just some, crazy harebrained idea. This has been done in aerospace already. So we'll get to learn from NASA. That'll be exciting. Onboard storage, overcoming the volume challenge. protecting your assets, IP and H2 aviation, a very important one. We'll learn about IP insurance, which is a new concept to me, which I'm becoming very fascinated by. Driving progress, Congress plus industry equals advanced hydrogen aviation. And of course, we can't make any of this possible unless you show me the money, venture capital in H2 aviation. So that's just sort of a sneak peek of what to expect in October. And we're just so excited. Adele says, Adele, would you like to unmute and say it, or I can say it for you, but you're welcome to, we're kind of just at the end where we're all chatting, so you can totally unmute and make your comment.
Hi, everyone. So this is a very exciting space to be in. And actually, our company just held a hydrogen fuel cell and mineral supply chain conference just a few days ago. So it was great to bring together all these different stakeholders, pushing this technology ahead. So we're very, very keen to connect with anyone who's in the hydrogen space, because we do specialize a lot in finding out what the new developments are and connecting investors with entrepreneurs and people in the tech space and R&D. We also are very, very keen to understand the whole hydrogen mineral supply chain. All these key critical minerals, the iridium, ruthenium, that are going to be key to electrolyzers and catalysts. So please do feel free to get in touch.
Thank you so much, Adele. What was the name of your company?
Oh, my company name is SFA Oxford, and we're based in the United Kingdom. Well, in Oxford. I'll put the name in the chat.
Great, thank you so much. I'd love to chat with you more about speaking at Flying High.
Okay, sure. Yes, that would be great.
Yeah, I wish I had known about that event. I don't think I was aware of it. I'd love to sign up for your email list. Where would I do that at?
I will happily send you more details. I'll put my email in the chat so anyone is free to get in touch.
Cool.
Right. So we do also help a lot of mining companies as well in the hydrogen space. For people who may or may not be aware, we have companies like Anglo American Platinum, who are now launching their new hydrogen trucks in the mining sphere. So
very exciting. Oh, Peter posts myths about the Hindenburg explosion. I'm glad that you posted that, Peter. And you guys, I think I have disabled copying from the chat, and I'm not sure how to fix that. So you probably cannot copy Adele's email. Let me know if you have issues doing that, but you might just have to quickly type it before the webinar ends. But yeah, I'm very grateful for you sending this, Peter. At my previous company, we also published a white paper on the Hindenburg, and that hydrogen did not cause the Hindenburg to explode. And I want you guys to ingrain that in your minds. Hydrogen did not cause the Hindenburg to explode. In fact, what you see burning in this picture is not hydrogen, because hydrogen burns clear. So let's just read them. Myth 1, the Hindenburg was painted with rocket fuel. It was. Yes, it was. And it was not, they didn't have a carbon fiber tank with the hydrogen in it either. Myth 2, the Hindenburg was painted with thermite. Yes, it also was. That the Hindenburg's outer cover was highly flammable. Yep. As Matt Moran, who will be teaching the hydrogen aviation course on October 9th in Grand Forks, North Dakota, I almost said North Carolina, and Grand Forks, North Dakota, he says the Hindenburg blew up because the hydrogen, or the material, was cotton soaked in explosives. And I thought that pretty much summed it up. Hydrogen burns without color, so the flames could not have been hydrogen burning, is exactly what I was just saying. People on the Hindenburg were not injured by the hydrogen. And all of them. And also, I'll say that there were some really bad engineering, there were some really bad leadership decisions made prior to the Hindenburg. For example, there was some bad weather that they were advised not to fly into, but they wanted to meet some deadlines and they had to make like a sharp turn, which caused some kind of tear. And that just it kind of just spiraled after that. So, okay, well, this has been a fantastic webinar. And if there are no more questions, I think I'll give us 38 minutes of our day back. So last chance to ask any questions to Mr. Tom Freund. And by the way, Tom, I just want to thank you for being our distinguished speaker. It was a fantastic presentation.
Thank you.
So yeah, thank you so much. And if you all want to be connected, he did put his email, but if you need anything further, feel free to reach out to me anytime.
Can I just mention one thing? I just got some information recently because I'm in the East Coast. The state of New Jersey, believe it or not, is put out an RFI looking into the potential of the hydrogen industry because New Jersey is laying out a series of offline offshore windmills for generating power, and I guess they want to find a way of using it. So they say that what about generating green hydrogen? So there's an RFI out there. I'll put the link in the chat. Excuse me, and let everybody know where it is. Where to submit the RFIs. And they want to get some ideas as to how to promote the hydrogen industry within the state of New Jersey. By the way, this is not limited to anybody within New Jersey. This could be outside of the state of New Jersey as well. So let me put the link in the chat, and people can take a look at it. Okay.
Great. Thank you so much for that. That's super interesting. I've been seeing a lot of activity in states all throughout the United States with hydrogen. So super excited to watch this all shape up over the next 5 years to over the next decade. So great. Well, thanks again, everybody.
Danielle, is
Go ahead.
That what the gentleman just spoke about, the New Jersey oh, there it is. Great.
Yeah, you got it.
Great. Being from New Jersey, I had to put directions onto the Hindenburg crash site. So, which my daughter's getting married near there this weekend, so we pass it all the time. So.
Oh wow, that's really cool. You've got to take a picture of it. Is there like a monument there or anything? Or
yeah, there's like I haven't been there, at Ground Zero in a while, but I do, see there's a lot of signage around it, and you can't miss it. Yeah, it's like a memorial park.
Wow.
Is that still part of the isn't that part now of that joint base with McGuire Fort Dix as well? Hello?
The joint naval base, Air Force.
Yeah,
base?
Isn't that the joint naval base now with McGuire and Fort Dix?
Well, it's very close, actually. In fact, I just passed that on the way back from the wedding venue the other day. It's, I would say it's about 5 miles away. If you know New Jersey, I think it's Route 70.
Yeah. Okay. Thank you.
Yeah, I want a picture of that. Okay, well,
Good morning,
yes,
everyone.
yeah,
Danielle,
goodbye.
this is Alan.
Thank you so much.
Real
Oh,
quick,
sorry, go
brief-
ahead, Alan.
If we're talking about hydrogen safety, a few years back, I ran a couple of mobile laboratories, and we had a lab accident in our lab from a hydrogen leak in the instruments. And the chemist, she came out there and she turned on an AC unit. It did create a small explosion that overpressurized the lab and lifted the roof of the trailer off. Basically, looked like a can opener had done. But really, the only injury to my chemist was it dirtied her shorts. If that would have been a propane, leak of the same magnitude, it would have blew the trailer apart. So, and we also, within my previous job, I worked for California Department of Food and Ag. We started testing hydrogen fuel quality for fuel cells back in about 2006, 2007. And we did a lot of studying. We looked at a lot of videos. We've seen pictures of hydrogen accidents. Everybody remembers hydrogen likes to go home. It likes to go to the sun. So it's always the high point that it collects at. When you do have an explosion or a fire from hydrogen, because of the mass density of hydrogen, the actual energy created is low. I mean, hydrogen burns hot, but it's very low density. So you don't have a lot of actual heat. You can protect yourself with a thin mylar reflective coating from a hydrogen fire, where a hydrocarbon fire, we all know what would happen. Same amount of fuel. So yeah, the safety factor in the Hindenburg, those of us in the hydrogen world always cringe when we hear that. It's like everybody talking about the Titanic and going on a cruise ship. It's kind of it was a bad accident, but there were lots of reasons for that accident, and they don't exist today in our handling. So, okay. I talked too much, sorry.
I know it's okay. I love that story. And the first thing that popped in my mind was hydrogen phone home. For those of you that grew up in the 80s, you get that. But yeah, you're giving me an idea for a graphic to create. Okay, so thank you so much again, Mr. Tom Freund. Thanks everybody for your questions and comments. Make sure and save the date for Flying High. Create your free account on highsky.org and have a beautiful week. And I will see you in a month. Thanks, everyone.
Thank you.